open this because it's the easiest thing to do. Okay, so looking at all of your activities that you've just made and put together for all the different kinds of domains of development, this is looking at how do we set environments that, and it's just a very quick PowerPoint, that when you look at some of these rooms, you're thinking, you know, someone has gone to great trouble to think about what babies need and what a room should look like. And then I want you to kind of think about the rooms that you're in and what you could be doing to help to soften them up or make them more sensory appropriate, or as simple as turning off the lights, making these blinds and making things big. So some of it is really quite interesting. I'm not sure I'd go there, but it's always fun to look at. And Debbie, Marcy Carter and Deb Curtis are two amazing gurus in this field. They are, the word that they use about infants and toddlers is they believe that they are our youngest citizens. That's the word that they use a lot, and that we somehow, our infant toddler rooms are made up of people that go to garage sales and buy things, and there's a bunch of old plastic stuff that people put into a small space and put a bunch of cribs in a room and think that we have built an infant toddler center. And there's great sadness around that. So they all say, what components do you think you need to pay attention to? I always say, if you have a hard time being in that room, I can't imagine what it must be like for infants and toddlers. If it's too dark, if it's too bright, if it's too crazy, if it's too plastic. Because if we don't feel comfortable with it, they probably don't either. So, I'm just gonna, come on, show me your pictures. The words that are really important in this one are elements of beauty. If these are going to be our youngest citizens and we want them to be connected to our earth, we have to give them opportunity to see beauty. And that doesn't mean Disney and Ariel on the wall and Shrek and all the other Disney stuff that we sing. Yeah, is that who's on the wall? Oh.
Everything. And it's like Elmo, like every Disney character all over the wall all the time.
Like, you know what? You think about how disingenuous that is.
It's the parents.
Of course it is.
And it's like, now I know that. When I first went there, I was like, this is such an awesome daycare. Like, oh my god, I love it. Now, I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
I just rather the other.
Yeah. To me, it sounds like it's a very plasticky place, a very plastic world.
It's for the parents, not for the kids.
Yeah. And people say that plastic is easy to clean. I always say natural wood is easier. And real material, whether it's silk or cotton or wool, there should be cultural stuff on the walls as well. So I'm not sure how much is on Stolo. There's a little bit on the walls. I think that they do a better job than most centers.
Isn't it more culture?
Absolutely.
It's not like...
Well, I think so, from my little experience there. But I still think the room is too crowded. There isn't enough room for babies on the floor. That's just my personal opinion. There has to be some softness. There has to be a place that they can feel secure. And that could even just be a cardboard box that you make soft with cushions. And I always think, you go to Value Village and get some lovely old scarves. You can get silk scarves at Value Village for next to nothing, and have it so that make an opening in the box for the washing machine. Like, you can go to
Value Village. It's like a thrift
store. Go to a thrift store and get old scarves, because that's where you get the best ones. They're real silk. And they feel
really
good.
colorful floral colors.
Yeah, but you can then you make a little door into this cardboard box that we can crawl into and have cushions inside. So there's a place for them to go by themselves. Yeah, a place to be quiet. At the same time, you need to have a place that's active. So within one room, we have to have everything. We have to have beauty. We have to have a space to be quiet and a space to be noisy and loud. That's a huge task in some of those small rooms.
Even for infants?
Yeah, even for infants who are just starting to crawl, for sure. They need a space where they can go. Right, so here is, and the word that she always uses too is cozy like home. Babies and toddlers, a good daycare is another home. It's with people who are going to be there every day in an environment that, like going to grandma's house. I always say a good daycare is like going to grandma's house. When you have lots of cousins to play with. Don't you remember going to cousin's house and just having a wonderful time? And all these children the same age? Well, that's how we want to create our centers. It's like it's going to grandma's house. And there's always good food, and there's lovely things in the wall. There's pictures of yourself on the wall. All these things we talk about that are important, we don't want Elmo. Elmo makes no sense to toddlers. No, that's what. So, this is not big buck stuff. It's just a futon or a couch that is, look at the lovely little library that's on the floor. And if you don't want, if you can't afford to buy one, get a wicker basket at the thrift store. You know, the dollar store has the $5 baskets, the laundry baskets. Don't buy plastic, buy wicker. Or buy a straw basket at Canadian Tire for $10. That's all you need to put books into. That's what I have in my house, is I have a whole bunch of wicker baskets with all my books in it, just sitting there. So children can, but it's on the floor, beside pillows and a chair to read a story in. It needs to be inviting. Even infants need books. We think because they're not interested, that's not true. There's lots of babies. We need to start early with books. This is the plexiglass between the climbing structure and the... That's kind of fun because the children can put their hands and talk through it. Yeah. This is a center in Seattle that I was at. And once again, little cozy corners, just like home. Doesn't have to be for the parents, you know. And once again, going to getting different kinds of material. A rug for the floor should feel different than the blanket over the couch, which should feel different than the little hassock they can crawl up and off of. This is where you get garage sale stuff, not plastic. So a place for the adults as well as for the children. What's
That's
really
a unique couch.
Isn't that lovely? Yeah.
So cute.
Yeah. This is all, and look what's really interesting too is it's a lamp, not these fluorescents. So even if you have fluorescents, don't turn them on. Find a way to have lamps or something, or lights on the wall so that you have what they call incandescent lighting. It makes a huge difference. Huge difference. Oh, they're growing things. This is just a bath shower curtain, and they made pockets to grow things on. Yeah, so simple, really. All they do is, they're not even attached, they're already attached here and they can take them off. They just have like double-sided Velcro, it's Velcro that holds them up.
What are they in bags?
They're clear, they're just more plastic. They went and bought 2 shower curtains, one they cut out and made little things. And when they go for nature walks, they bring it all back and they can see it. So they can have their blocks, they can have their stick, they can have their whatever's in their pocket, and they can put it on and make it look beautiful. So you just hang it and the light comes through. It's so simple.
I should do that.
So simple, really it is. That's what I love about infants and toddlers is that really we have to remind ourselves it's like going to grandma's house and what kind of neat. Grandma always let you keep your rocks. She didn't make you leave them behind like your mom does because you already have enough rocks at home. Grandma never has enough rocks.
And that's good for like infants and toddlers?
Absolutely. I mean, it's more toddlers because they're walking and able to go for a...
and like pick
yeah.
up.
But the babies can look at it.
And what would that fall under? Like for developmentally.
Oh, well, first of all, it would be social because you're going for a walk.
Okay.
Then it'd be cognitive because it's different kinds of things.
Okay.
And then it's sensory because you're looking at it with the light coming through. I just think there's so much we can do that we just don't think about, that you can really use interesting things. So once again, just making the roof closer. Rather than having this huge ceiling, just bringing it down. Just in one little area. That helps to give that quiet. So rather than a cardboard box, they've created a quiet space with teddy bears and pillows. It's really quite simple. You know those princess things, that those gauzy AECE sells for, they're really great for children. They cost a bit of money though. Unless you can find one of those at a garage sale. Those are good buys. In this center, they're allowed to actually put babies in there and swing them to put them to sleep. This is a baby area, so there's no toddlers in this area. Just babies that aren't crawling yet. So they would put a baby in, it's just got a wool inside, that fuzzy sheepskin, so that if it's a younger baby, they just let them sleep in there. They don't put them in cribs if that's where they fall asleep.
That's cool.
It's sort of almost like a cradle.
Do they make it?
Yeah. It's actually just cloth. Yeah. These people don't have a lot of money, but they have lots of really wonderful ideas. If ever you go to Seattle, let me know and I'll tell you some centers to see. Because that's where I did my master's, was in Seattle. So I got to go to some of these centers.
Cool.
Yeah, so I was very blessed. Thank you. And see, they do a lot of things in baskets. They'll put things in baskets to present to children. You don't have to do the whole, so toddlers and babies don't do circle time. They do kind of just, it's playtime. When they're ready to play, when they want to go in.
Oh, that's cool.
And once again, the rule is if you can get up there, you can play up there. If you can't get up there, I don't put you
Is that
there.
a closet?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Actually, there's a center in Kamloops that they did the same thing. They took, there was a storage closet, they took the door right off and children could crawl right in and they made it at different levels. Yeah. It's really a nice center in Kamloops, yeah. Yeah, so we're taking space and we're making it more useful. So once again, making this lovely little underneath the cover.
You look like older buildings.
It is. It wasn't a very nice building.
But like they just made the best out of it.
Oh, it's a beautiful center. I would work in this center. Yeah.
This is all the same center?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
This is too much for me. It's way too much, over the top. But, like I would take away this. And they were this, and this, and this. We took away all that busyness. There's some nice stuff. This is really a nice climbing structure. If ever you have opportunities for, I always say there's lots of books where you can buy equipment. But if you've been in toddler, you're better off to see something you like and find someone to build it for you. And always build it out of wood. You know, don't go buy plastic chairs. You know what? You have a choice. A plastic chair for a toddler costs $40. A wood one costs $80. I can tell you that we've had wood chairs in Abbotsford in our infant toddler program for 25 years. Never had to replace them. We paid $60 back then for them. Now they're $80 each or $100. But you know what? You're far better off.
Where do you get them? Like, do you get somebody to make them for you?
I found a carpenter to make them. But you know who makes things every high school has a woodwork program. They would love to make things for you. So when I worked at the Abbotsford Senior, they made our gazebo outside. They made our climbing structure inside. They made some tables and chairs for some little ones. I bought the woodworking class and did lots for me. So I just used this. Yeah, it was actually the high school boys. The grade 12 class built the daycare. So I spent a whole year with the grade 12 boys. Funniest thing ever, all these boys. And then years later, suddenly there'd be a knock on the door. And nobody knocks on the daycare door, right? And there'd be a knock, and I always knew it would be one of the boys that built this. They would want to be showing people, I built this center, can we come in and have a look around? And they'd come in and show somebody. But yeah, I could knocks on the daycare. But it was always funny. So there was these great big, there was about 20 of them that I worked with for years. So the drafting class drafted up the plans. The construction class built it. I fundraised for all the money, for all the material. I got $50,000 to equip it. I was so blessed. And so I found people within a couple of the service clubs love to build things. There's lots of grandpas that have no grandchildren that are fantastic with wood. There's people that are much better sewers than me. If I was around Christine, I would get her to do my sewing. You know, if I wanted some things made that were done by hand, now that I know that she's really good at it, I would get her to do that. And so you begin to, as a good leader, you're sussing out everyone's skills so that you know this person is amazing, you know, with drumming and singing. So then once again, you use that strength. So after a while, you get good at it. Yeah, but once again, the bulletin boards are really low, and the windows are really low. There's mirrors for the children to see themselves. Yeah.
And underneath that climbing thing.
Isn't that cool? These are holes. Yeah, there's a cubby in there. They can crawl in.
Looks like there's pillows too.
Yeah.
Inside.
Oh, that's just a hole to see out. These are all balls.
No, I meant like on the right side. There looks like there's pillows on the one side of the hole.
Oh yeah, pillows. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And once again, there's stairs up, and there's a place, and you could have a slide down if you wanted on the other side, if that's what you wanted to do.
That's so much cooler than a little wood stair that you buy.
I know. The things we buy are really, I don't know what the word is, but I mean, I suspect at your center all this stuff is new plastic stuff, right?
Actually, the only thing that they have out that the kids use as an activity is it's in just in one room, and it's got a slide and a ladder and everything, but it's all plastic.
Yeah.
And the other room, just tables and that, but because there's the tables are about this high, so don't let the kids climb on there because of the height.
Right. So once again, yeah.
We don't have anything to climb into that one room.
And so sometimes what I do for children too, if they're always going to climb on the cupboards, I turn the cupboards over. I take everything out of the cupboard and I just turn it upside on stuff on its back and let them climb in and out of it until they're done. So you can fight toddlers. If you have a climber, you have to make sure that you've got places for them to climb that are safe. So climbing in and out of the cupboard works like a charm. Yeah. Otherwise, you're fighting with them the whole time.
Let them climb underneath them, like, if you want to.
Even the tables, you know what, I would just turn it on its side and let them play around it, because that's what they want to do. That's the thing to play with, and we're in trouble. Oops, sorry. What were you going to say?
But the other, one of the older boy that's ADHD and borderline autism,
Yeah.
he gets upset when any of the other children climb under the table, saying that that's his spot, they're not allowed.
Right. That's a completely different ballgame.
Oh God,
Yes.
trying to explain to him that.
There's probably no explaining that, because that's just the way his mind works.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we just try to distract him with something else.
Here's a quilt with all the pictures of a child's family embedded into it. Very cool. And now you can screen pictures easily onto material now, anywhere. It's a really easy thing to do. Breaking up a room, if you've got just a big space, it's just having dividers that just chunk it out. It makes a huge difference for infants and toddlers. Too much space says run. Too many, it's important. Here's a different kind of, this is like a playpen up high. So the children are at an adult level, and the children can play underneath it. So these are for the non-mobile babies. I'm not sure I do that, but
I'm just thinking.
it looks, no, because it's all the way, they wouldn't fall. It's for babies that are non-mobile. Yeah. It's to protect them from the bruisers. Those bruisers that step all over them make it difficult to have mobile and non-mobile children in the same room. Once again, I love the idea of having each child's family story so they can see it. Whoops, sorry. And she's washing it.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah, yeah. But I think that's such an important thing for each child to have, is pictures of themselves and their families, so they can go and look at it whenever they feel sad.
Well, that's another thing I hated at White Bear, is they would sit there and pretend like it was their child. Like, if they were in foster care or something, they talk really bad about the mom or the dad, and like they would be like, this is my baby, like we've had her since she's been like 2 months old, and like got really too attached, and I like didn't like the
That's
way-
unhealthy.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all.
No.
And they favor the babies like that they were like attached.
Of course. But we always have the ones that we are particularly more attracted to because of temperament, mostly, and personality. But I really like this idea. Once again, having pictures of their family somewhere. Even if they're in foster families, it doesn't mean that they can still have pictures if the foster parents, probably not, because of confidentiality, right? Yeah. So with foster children, I would have just lots of pictures of them on them.
Just of themselves.
And what they like. You know, if they like dogs or if they like, depending on
What if
they
they're
like.
like attached to a worker?
Attachment is always good, but as long as it's good attachment.
But
Because
not.
they're always going to be attached.
We want them to be
They're not
attached,
part of
and we don't want them to be dependent. If that's the only thing that calms them down,
And they're not there at home, just at daycare.
Yes, because you know what, the daycare is not their home. Okay, so once again, I love the idea of just little stairs so they can learn to go up and down stairs. And they're carpeted, and look at that lovely use of that window. I could play up there. Those are the kinds of things that are so simple to build when you've got, all you've got takes is a window. You could do that still easily. Yeah. Here are the things they see out the window. So pictures of them, stories, so the documented story. And once again, it's when children see themselves and they see the story, they ask you to read it. This brings back the walk in the woods in autumn. Oh, that's so simple.
Ordinary moment.
An ordinary moment out the window. What do we see?
Denise calls it something else, and it drives us nuts because you taught us that first, the ordinary moment,
Right.
and she'd like do a storyboard. We're like, what is that?
Right. Yes, oh right, you got the, yeah, sorry. Once again, we're trying to look ways to use windows outside, engaging our senses.
It makes me want to get big pillows for my house.
Oh, absolutely. We all should have big pillows. And comfy, and lots of buckets of different kinds of material, not just plastic.
DIY products.
That's it, that's it. Look at this lovely
Oh,
table.
that's cool.
Isn't that cool?
And you can
So
fill that with anything.
simple, and seashells and sand, and but what's lovely is it's long and there's lots of room for toddlers to share.
That's so cool.
Isn't that cool? I like that too.
I don't know what that is.
It's bark
Oh.
and magnifying glasses and frogs. This is a color thing that, yeah. But all it is an old coffee table, like an end table that they brought in to use for a science area. This is knobs from taps. This is dollars. This is a shell. This is a brush. Just a scrub brush that they've mounted onto a board. So it's a whole sensory area, and they change it regularly with different things. That is so simple. You know, even squishies for baths. Just making a board that you keep changing the senses, or the colors, or what time of the year it is.
Kids just love having
Oh,
stuff.
totally. I mean, it's really, you could go anywhere and find a whole bunch of taps, and they would spend hours just playing with that. Not so sure that I would want that in a room, because, well, toddlers might like it. Using a space to organize.
That looked like a bookshelf out on the side.
Yeah, it did. What I like about this is, look at it, it's indented, but it would also say that it'd be lovely to climb.
It just seems like there's way too much stuff out.
I don't think so.
I think that this one,
I don't like the
Would
stuff
be-
that's in here.
yeah, was that?
I don't like the stuff that's in there.
And
I like
this-
the
yeah.
scarves, but I don't really
Yes.
care for this.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? This is not nearly as inviting as just a few things.
This is inviting, but I think it's just way
Too much.
too much.
And the fan on the other one, what if that fell?
Yeah.
I'd be very well at 5 days in there too.
What also happens is, the higher up it is, the more it has to be a teacher that gets it.
And let,
So
is that right on
the lower
ground?
stuff, children can get themselves, the higher stuff, it has to be teacher directed. So the musical instruments, maybe for, I don't know. I'm not sure I would use lights.
It seems too dark.
Yeah. I think they were trying to get away from using fluorescence, but I'm not
Window
sure.
shape, is that mirrors?
This
or
looks a
windows?
little too busy for me too, but. What I do like too, though, is using these bamboo things to close off things that you don't, so that telling children that once that's down, that cupboard is
Scarf
closed.
Cool too over the window.
Yeah. There's lots of interesting things. Of course, there's never such thing as a perfect center. There's always things that can change. Love this. Just that big mirror on the floor, reflective stuff. This is a science area for toddlers. Real simple.
So what would you do if they're putting it in their mouth?
Make sure it's big enough that they can't swallow it.
But would you allow them to put it in
Yeah,
their mouth?
The other
probably.
thing with sheet, like the shells, they break.
But you know what? They would probably
Like,
put them in their mouth, and they probably would go, ew. Probably.
Yeah.
And they would probably spit it out. And you know what? When I first put them out, I might put only a few to see if there's going to be one that's a problem.
Yeah.
And if these ones crumble, I might be a little concerned that they're going to chew on them.
So is this more toddler than?
Definitely
infant?
toddler. This would be a toddler science. This is a toddler room, this one. Yeah. I wouldn't do this with babies. But toddlers need to have a science area. See, I'm not keen on that. I love this, but I would put it way down low. Not way up high.
They're probably as tall as this one.
Yeah. Once again, presenting things in baskets to me is really easy way to do things for children. To have a whole bunch of different size baskets for everything. It just makes life it's a nice way to make a shelf, organize it in a way that makes sense. This one's in a, what's really cool is when they go, they have a little window, they can see their mom and dad leaving.
You've been in a center?
Yeah, these are all from Seattle. This is a very, in an office building. In Seattle, there's actually employers that have decided that it's in their best interest to actually operate a daycare. So all the employees children can go there. So this is in an office building.
So the people who work
Downtown.
there, their kids go there.
That's right. And it's run by the employer. The employer is an employee-run center. So,
And they just hire.
yeah, big corporations in Seattle. I forget, this was a hospital one, I think, one of the Swedish hospital, I think it was called. So we, some of the stuff in it is, they have lots.
Does Kamloops have like in the hospital have like daycare for all
They
kids?
used to, but they don't anymore. Carolyn was the first person in BC to have a 24-hour, 24/7. They tried it again 2 years ago, and it just didn't fly. This is a cool kind of thing with reflective kind of stuff, so the children can climb up and look at themselves. It's kind of fun.
I don't know how it,
Sorry?
I can't, where's the mirror?
And it's on top of the table.
Well, you can get mirrors that are unbreakable. They aren't really a mirror.
It's like a
more of
plastic.
Yeah. So there's a mirror on the wall, and then there's mirrors on the top of each of these.
Oh, okay.
And it's just built in, like it's not something you can take away.
Yeah.
Those are called mirror tables. Yeah. But they're not mirrors, really. They're,
It's like you can even bend it. Like it's not a full mirror. It's like a CD kind of.
yeah, exactly. But I mean, they have their uses for sure. It's kind of fun to climb up there, and all this. They get up there and they kiss it, and they look at themselves, and they're smooshing it all over the place. It's just, and every day his handprints and smooshing everywhere. It gets cleaned twice or 3 times a day. Yeah, and then they play little. They have little baskets of people and stuff. The toddlers will put things, the old McDonald's farm, and it's quite fun. And then they can see it. There's a reflection here, so if you're sitting here with them and they're playing, you kind of have this interesting thing going on. When I was there, I saw some children doing. They were playing with an adult. It was. I did about 40 hours of observation on when I was doing my master's at different centers. I had to do 40 hours, I think. Yeah. So I spent some time in some of them. So I got to see it actually, and the people. It was wonderful. It was such a gift that I wouldn't have done otherwise. Yeah. Making a fort. There was so some handmade stuff. This little guy just gravitated towards the drums. This center allowed children, this is slime or the goopy stuff that they are playing with. The other centers say, no, if you're playing with Play-Doh, you can't take the dishes from the housekeeping, or you can't take the Play-Doh here. They really allowed the children to explore. And they only put out what they were, that was safe and made sense. The rest they had all put away. They loved that stuff. Little baskets and baskets. They love putting things in things. I mean, I bet you your girls do. I bet your Katiana is already putting things in things.
Rye's really in that phase.
Oh, they love little purses.
All my old purses.
Yeah, totally. Keep all your old purses.
Without.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there anything why I'm keeping all my own?
Yeah, it's a really fun thing. So yes, they're really little. They're playing with clay. And they're just exploring it. They're not going to make anything, and they're going to put it in their mouths. They're going to touch it, but that's how they begin to learn to explore it. So there's a box of clay here that if you want a piece of clay to take on your practicum to play with toddlers, just let me know. I'll get you some. And clay lasts forever as long as you keep it covered and wrapped. And then you just take a squirt bottle and give it a little bit of water, and it makes it. And you use fishing line to cover it.
So what are we supposed to say when they're putting the stuff in their mouth?
First of all, I'd say, does that taste good? I might say that.
But we don't really want to say, no, don't put it in your mouth.
If it's something that I would be really concerned about, then they shouldn't have access to it.
But clay is okay.
Oh, you know what? They're only going to eat so much. And they're not going to eat anymore because it doesn't taste very good.
But if I were to do that at the practicum, wouldn't the other girls be like,
But you know what? That's where you model again. Because you know what? It's just dirt. It's just dirt. They're going to eat a whole lot worse than dirt, let me tell you. They probably eat 5 cigarette butts in their lifetime, and they eat a pound of dirt a year. That's average. Yeah.
Quick cigarette. Katiana, I don't know how much sand she ate
Absolutely.
in a week.
Oh yeah, it just keeps coming out the other end. It's a little gravelly. But you know what?
She just kept up, nothing stopped her.
No. And actually, I always say, if I'm going to use something like clay or Play-Doh with toddler, and these are younger than, these are really toddlers. These are like year-olds. First of all, they probably will all put it in their mouth and try it. And many of them will immediately go,
Well,
does
it's
it
like
taste awful?
AJ, when I actually let him do some finger painting,
Yeah.
I give him paper and the temper paint. And his older sibling, Auntie, he's eating it.
Yeah,
Just leave him be.
yeah, that's right.
Let him,
Yeah.
like he was unsure about it. And
Yeah, 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 of course they are. That's part of being a.
Because that's the first time anybody's actually let him paint part.
Right.
So,
Right.
like he was pretty happy about it, but
Yeah, well, they're sensory motor, it's all about the senses, tasting, touching, feeling, hearing, seeing, I mean, that's what they do. Yeah, but I just love, I mean, look at the expression of the, and you know, one hand in and one hand not quite sure, you know, that whole, I'm not sure if I really even want to touch it. So there'll be some children that, and it's not like there's tons there. You just give them, you don't give them a whole big block, you just give them a bit. But, yeah, there's trays and there's clay here, absolutely, it's a great activity for toddlers. Because clay, unlike Play-Doh,
I'm gonna make my own cake.
you can use it over and over and over again. You don't have to ever make new stuff. It's just, and it's much more manipulative than Play-Doh.
I got about 3 different recipes for clay.
Oh, yeah.
Make.
Oh, different kinds of clay, yeah. There's lots of them.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a light table.
Yeah.
And once again, these are babies. Just exploring different things. It's just tissue paper and things on the light. And all you need to do is get light tables. You can go online and just make a light table. They're really they're simple. If you've got someone who's a little bit handy. Yeah. I have a
There was
lovely,
one, I can't remember, oh no, it wasn't at France, but it was on Pinterest. It's like you get one of those clear containers.
yes.
And you put, like, there's a stream of like, Christmas lights, right?
Mhm.
Like, you tape it to the top and then the kids are just putting stuff on top.
Absolutely. And you make shadows. It's very cool. Yeah. And it's really simple. And yeah, and then they will spend hours just putting things on and off and looking at it. So this is for busy bodies, active bodies. Nice area just to go and hang in. Babies crawling up. So there's a ramp in this one. It's not stairs, it's a ramp with carpet. Love this. Not only can you walk up, but you can go to the slide, but you can look out the window when you get to the top. And there's something to see coming down. There's something to see going up. There's something to see coming down. And this one has a little kind of area where you can crawl through there and kind of stand up there. And
I think when I do open my daycare, I want something that's made like that.
Mhm.
Instead of those plastic.
oh, totally,
Plastic
totally.
ones.
Yes.
So it'll be a lot more sturdier and the kids
Yeah.
can.
And you know what? I always think if you think there's a child where it's dangerous, I would just block them off, right? You know. Whereas I've had a licensing officer. Where was it? It was in Kamloops. That climbing thing, that cube with the slide on it, and then you know the stairs and the cube that everyone has. The licensing officer told them they couldn't leave it out for the infants and toddlers because it was dangerous. Because it's one child jumping off the top. He was climbing up and then jumping off, and then all the other children were climbing up and jumping off. Well, first of all, this isn't high enough that it doesn't give you the same message as those plastic cubes do. Yeah.
So you had to get rid of it?
So they had to put it away. And I said, but then what are the children going to climb? Because they need to climb something. Can you take it apart or do something? And her supervisor said, no, they can't climb inside. Well, then these children were, she said, well, you know, they're so big, they're busy. They need to climb. They're in their sensory motor period. They need to be climbing. Climbing is part of toddlerhood.
Well, another thing with those plastic ones, the way they're put together, they're so easy
Oh, yeah.
to fall apart.
Oh, totally. You're going to spend $300. You might as well get someone to build it. It'll cost you a bit more. Yeah. It's a little steeper, a little higher. Ball pits, you know, we now know that the bacteria is vicious in these things. And if you have one of these in your center, they have one downstairs. Nobody wants to put it out because every ball has to be disinfected after they've used it.
They have one downstairs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they never use it because it's a real pain. I mean, it looks nice and it's kind of fun, But you know what? You're far better off to get a wading pool and a whole bunch of just plastic balls, like of different sizes from the dollar store, and put it in the plastic pool. That's a much better ball area than this. Much better. And this is going to cost you, this cost you $500. The wading pool cost you 20, and all the balls at the dollar store cost you 20 bucks. So for 40 bucks, you've got a really great, that doesn't take you for out. How many balls are in there? You know, thousands of little suckers. Not very fun. So what happened is even McDonald's used to have ballrooms, right? They don't anymore. Because they have to disinfect them. Because that's how you share germs.
How did they disinfect them then?
They didn't. They were never disinfected. So they had to actually, the health inspectors.
Because I remember they were there when I was younger.
Oh, totally. They were everywhere. Yeah. But now they don't even let them in. They won't let you do it unless you have a disinfectant plan. Yeah. IKEA used to have a big room. Did you ever be to the IKEA where they have the big ballroom?
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't think it's there anymore.
I don't think so.
No, because I think that they shut it down too. Because this is where all the germs are. Yeah. This isn't old. These are old. These are from like 10, 15 years ago.
Now, would you let them climb up that if the toddler or infant wanted to?
Yes, they do. And that's why they have the mat there. Now, what they tend to do is they tend to climb up and then either, the premise at this center is Magna Gerber's theory is, or her philosophy is that children will only climb as high as they feel safe. And if they can climb up, they can generally climb down. It's when we put them in places that's unsafe, that's when they get hurt. So the answer is yes, they let the children climb this. And very rarely does a child get hurt, because they'll only go up as high as they feel comfortable. Yeah, generally. And I think that if I had a child who I was concerned about, I would probably put blankets or something and just close it down visually. Because it's attached to the wall. Yeah. But I have the bars for ballerinas, the bar. I often have one of those in the infant room, just for walking along, just along a wall. I'd have a bar where they can hold and walk, where they're holding themselves up. And I would have a mirror behind it or something that they can look at. And they would let the children climb this. It was a bit of a controversy too, even there. But you know what? Children can only. This is the funnest thing ever. I actually had my partner make one. It's plexiglass tube, and they put this. It's a little bit like this. So you put something in one end, and it comes down and shoots out the other. So it goes from basket to basket. So they get golf balls, not golf balls, just the plastic ping pong balls, and they shoot them down the tube. Very fun. Once again, they have different holes on different sizes, so when children get inside, they can play peekaboo. An outside space, so that the chair is really close to the bottom. They've got plastic, but they're using the grass and the natural environment, so it's not all just in the concrete, if they have all that stuff. Here's diapering. How can you make it inviting and pleasant with no lingering smells of disinfectant or excrement? So this diapering table has lovely baskets. This is actually a First Nations center called Daybreak down in Seattle, across the water. What they had that was really lovely is they had all these bottles of just colored water as something to look at as they're being diapered. It's all about being organized. So often, diapering is not separate from the rest of the room. You have a diapering room?
No, it's separate.
Separate, and so is downstairs. What about where you are, Laura?
It's in the bathroom.
It's in the bathroom.
Which is difficult because it's like,
You're taking a person off the floor.
well, and if you're closing and you have 3 babies, then you're the only one that you have to leave the room to do your diaper changes.
Right. So that is a problem. So sometimes it's actually like this. It's separate, but it's not.
I had to close all week
Oh,
and do the diaper changes
by yourself.
and that was interesting.
I bet it was. Yeah, no kidding. Having lots of access to water, that's what's important. Isn't this a nice diapering, just kind of closing it off from the rest of the room? Once again, simple stuff sometimes looks, that really appeals to me more than plastic and other stuff, but. This is the same room.
Plastic is so cute.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it great? Just, you could look in and see, but you can't get in. And how many gates are all just plastic things that you have to hurdle over? Or have to get doors that have locks, all that kind of stuff.
Was it at Head Start? They have like a big wooden one. Like every time I walk in it, you have to walk in it fast, or else you get your
Whacked.
Yeah, or the back of your
Back of your ankle? Yeah, it bites you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Story boards, documentation. Documentation, whatever you want to call it. We start with babies. It starts very young because they need to see themselves and hear, and you need to repeat the stories that they're telling you and of their lives and what you've been doing with them. They start very young. Even a story of who they are. If you've got a child that you can't do their family, you still could do a story about who they are and what they like and what they like to eat and what their favorite color is. If they're a toddler, they've got probably ideas. Isn't it a great use for an old laptop? This is actually got some older stuff. This is all about books. Books about families. Happy birthday books. They use a lot of binders with these photographs. So that's a really good way to make books for children, is to have those plastic sheets and just put their photographs with a little bit of words. You know, this is,
It's a good idea.
to me, on the walk. Exactly. Because then they can keep changing them.
Yeah, and also their art activities
Yeah,
and things that.
absolutely,
they do in
yes.
class.
Yeah. So it's a really, and you know what? Those binders are great for toddlers to hold because they're big enough, but they aren't too big, right? And each child has their own. And you have your sheets. This is a daybreak. The First Nations one. Books and props, lots of scarves. Scarves are wonderful. Good night,
At Whiteberry, they're
Whiteberry.
not allowed scarves.
What's that?
At Whiteberry, you can't even let them bring scarves, or they don't have any scarves.
Why?
I don't know, they say it's unsafe.
Really? Oh, this is a giant, enormous strawberry. Who knows that story? Toddlers love this book. It's called The Enormous Strawberry.
At Bammy Place, they don't even have drama.
No? Oh, man. These guys are really little looking at books. Here's all the different, using an old library card to keep all their stuff in. So, feeling cozy, staying connected, engaging our senses, inviting exploration, engaging our bodies, enjoying diapering, and making literacy meaningful. So, whenever we had a class with Deb and Margie, they would always say, so, tomorrow when you go back to your center, what do you do? Think of one thing that you can do differently that's not going to cost any money. It's a little bit of your time. Change something or do something differently that makes it a better place for babies.
I was gonna move a shelving unit
There you
from
go.
the baby section.
There you go. So it could be simple as moving a shelf.
They only have this like small area.
Yeah, it's tiny there. Good one, okay? What could you do to your room to make it either more cozy, stay connected? One of those areas, what could you do differently? I'll let you think about it.
I really like the stairs, like at White Bear, I was just thinking
If
where
you
I was, we didn't have anything like that, and that's really cool, is to make a little stairs, and put carpet over top, and have the pillows on top. I really like that.
You like that idea? You're not anywhere yet, it's like you don't know what you'd do. Where are you at, Alana? What could you do in your room that's different? That might add something that just,
No more sensory stuff.
okay?
Like everything is seriously all plastic.
Yeah, I know it is. And she has tons of it. Buckets of it, buckets and buckets. So I would make little baskets just for your toddlers. Just a few things, not, she's got like a whole room of Lego and ponies and oh my God.
Yeah, and farms and the houses.
And there's way too much of everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good. Good observation. What about you? You don't know?
The same thing Alana
Yes,
said.
the children, or the parents, they want favorite object from home
Okay. Okay.
or toy.
Okay.
Picture. Something that
Is there
they-
anything that you could remove from the room, Laura, where you're doing your practicum? Or add to that room to make it more cozy, more inviting, more engaging? You don't have to do it, it's just about thinking about it.
Maybe like more like a climbing structure thing for they have a new baby there.
Right,
So
yes,
maybe something he can like just climb over.
right. Is he just ready to walk?
No, he just turned 1.
Okay, so he needs to have things where he can move around,
Yeah.
not be put into or pushed around. Yeah, okay. So, there we go. Okay. Who hasn't had their donor yet?
You.
Oh, just me. Thank you for leaving me. I might have to share it with my custodian, who I have to get there too. I did it in permanent ink on the whiteboard. I know. She's got special stuff because she knows me, but you know. But still. Okay, so how about a break? So 15 minutes, and then we'll talk a little bit about what I would like to see happen for midterm, or our transition from infants and toddlers to special needs. And then we will do resilience.
Probably would have pressed pause.
Probably won't press pause. Thank you.
What's that for?
There's going to be students.